Now, it's been a hot minute since we've seen the likes of Tam Tam or even Mr. Science himself, but it looks like the media is looking for a new face for government overreach. Ladies and gents, welcome back. I, for one, am not keen on the idea of going right back into government overreach and lockdowns like we've seen recently. And we can thank the fact that, well, Trump's replacement for Anthony Fauci happens to be Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, which is a fantastic pick, and that means that we have a lot of hope moving forward. But that's not stopping the mainstream media from trying to get on that narrative. They knew what was able to shut Trump down before, and that was a worldwide pandemic. You know that thing that came about and had a 99% survival rate. That we shut down all of society for. Yeah, we're not keen on doing that again. Tim Pool putting this one out there. They've been trying to do the pandemic thing again. The idea that the machine state would allow Trump to walk in and do as he pleases was always absurd. It's going to be a constant battle, but we are winning. We are winning. And it's the same thing happening here in Canada. People they do not have a taste for this, even though this is a push that they're moving towards. Now, listen to what she has to say here. This is a doctor, by the way, and we're going to get in a little bit more about her history. This is, of course, Dr. Leanna Wen. I'm going to get into this clip later, but let's get into this one first.
There are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Dr. Wen, is bird flu in humans super dangerous?
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu, that the mortality rate is 52%. 52%. However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the U.S. have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
Well, we do know what happens when we're infected with bureaucracy and the ability to shut down people's businesses, people's livelihoods, people's lives. And we know from the past who fared well during the pandemic. Was it the people who shut down everything, or was it the people who largely said, no, we're just going to go about our lives as usual? You know, the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and that's it. That's about all we're willing to put out there. Now, a lot of people with the exact same sentiment as probably you watching this, myself, it's pretty much straight across the board, because we saw what happens when the government steps in. This is people trying to have their holiday in Canada to meet up with each other, and restrictions had mandated that you can't have your family in the same room together. But where are we moving forward on this one? Well, here's the American medical institutions as they start preparing their preparations for bird flu by working on their bird flu dance routines. We all saw what went down with this in the past, and we saw the authoritarian nature of the governments and these agencies and these bureaucracies. Now, Johnny St. Pete putting this out there saying, what a coincidence. Day 2 of bird flu groundwork. On the heels of Dr. Burrick's, yesterday we have Dr. Lena Wen, who is now also discussing the possible mutation of bird flu, which has been around for 30 years. Dr. Wen is famous for demanding more mandates, was former president of Planned Parenthood, and has appeared on panels with Obama. She was also born in China. Is everyone noticing the groundwork they are laying after Birx said yesterday, I'm seeing all that COVID mistake by the CDC in 2020. The deep state doesn't just vanish. They pivot, and they're trying to derail Trump's agenda with agenda will be undertaken, but it will not work this time. Now, this is what she said famously before.
Among governmental authorities and others to mandate the vaccine. We saw that yesterday the VA said it's going to require the vaccine for its employees. We saw the mayor of New York, the governor of California. Do you anticipate seeing more in this vein, more requirements?
Yes, and it cannot come soon enough. We have hit a wall when it comes to vaccinations in this country. We're just not going to get anywhere close to the vaccine levels that we need in order to prevent another surge.
I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't matter what levels you get to, they're never good enough. We witnessed this in Canada. We had levels stretch on above 85% in the first run, and that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It's never enough. It's never, ever, ever, ever good enough. And this illustrates the point very well. Errol Weber saying you comply because you want it to end, but it's because of your compliance that it will never end. It may never end. Read that twice. It is serious. This is where we're at with that. Now, I want to throw this out there that, you know, even in Canada, where it was very harsh, it was absolutely harsh. It was put on us with these mandates. We were locked down. Maybe not quite as bad as Australia. We're hearing stories about what happened in Australia, New Zealand, but people were stretched to the brink. I showed you just a minute ago what people went through, and that was just one instance of people being ripped out of their homes for your safety. The police not with masks or any of that stuff, but it really came down to these people turning it around. It was a bunch of truckers that went down to Ottawa, and that's really what sent a message across the world that it's over. It's absolutely over, and we're not going to do it again. We will not comply ever again with this kind of thing. Authoritarian rears its ugly head, and it's always a case of, trading just a little bit of your liberty for a little bit of security. Now, Benjamin Franklin famously saying, you trade a little bit of liberty for a little bit of security, and you deserve neither. And that's exactly what we've witnessed in our lifetime. Let's not do this again. Let's not have this happen again. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. What would happen if the government came out and said, we got to do this all again? What would you do? We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trekking.